Welcome along to the Football Martin channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. This video is focusing on an ex-Southampton player, but it's been requested by Everton fans, and I've been on a couple of podcasts and a couple of Everton channels talking about this signing before it happened. Well, ex-Southampton midfielder Charly Alcaraz did sign for Everton during the January window. So I want to give a bit more of an insight into what he's like as a player and my opinions on him as a player. There's a few videos out there. There's loads of snippets of what he did in his time at Southampton, what he did at Racing. Obviously, he's had a time at Juventus, and then he obviously went off to Flamengo after leaving Southampton at the start of this season. But the club announced it on deadline day that Alcaraz signed for them. And in his first interview, he went on to say that he is ready to give everything to Everton. And there is no doubt he will give you absolutely everything. He's a 22-year-old and he's a very, very good midfielder. I really like him. He's young. He's got a lot to learn, but he will come with a bit of energy. He's a bit niggly. He's a flair player. He's box to box, plays in the 10 or the 8. He's versatile in sort of central midfield, and Southampton fans were really grateful for him during his time here because he was a good player for us. But there'd be a lot more pressure. What I'm trying to say is there'd be more pressure at Everton. It's a big club to go and play for, and certainly where Everton are going as a club at the moment. New stadium next season as well. I think any player there will want to be a part of next season and go into that new stadium because it looks incredible. He said that he's so happy to join Everton. It's such a great club with a great fan base. He told Everton TV, "It's a stage for me. I'm very happy and looking forward to start training," which he would have done by the time I filmed this anyway. "I wanted to come here or come to Everton. I like a challenge," which he does, there's no doubt about that. "And I know that Everton have to fight for things." And he knew, and he would know about Everton because he's played against them. He's had some good games against Everton as well. The fact that he's back in the Premier League doesn't surprise me. I was gutted to see him go from Southampton. Really disappointed because I really liked him as a player. We've got a very good replacement in Mateus Fernandes right now. But I do feel that Alcaraz would have really fitted our current manager, Ivan Juric. He would have really, really fitted our manager. So what's he like, Alcaraz, as a player? Well, he signed for around 12 million from Sporting in the January of the season we got relegated last time round from the Premier League. Like I said, he was the best of the bunch. He was the best of the signings, and we spent 50, 60, 70 million in that window. He was the standout player, and he scored some decent goals. He scored a really good one against Leicester, which stands out for me. He also scored his best performance come against Arsenal in the Premier League at the Emirates. He was really good that day. Like I said, he could play in the 10, but he played as a false 9 a little bit. Can't remember. I think that day at Arsenal, I think he was in a false 9 that day, and he had Theo Walcott one side of him. Can't remember who played the other side of him, but he was like, it was kind of worked out well at the time because you had, well, then we got relegated, so it worked out well. But it worked out well for him in terms of like the way that we played would give him the ball a lot because you had James Ward-Prowse and Lavia for long periods at that time. Lavia being a ball winner and looks to find a player. He doesn't drive with the ball so much. Ward-Prowse would never drive with the ball. So you had two players that anchor a little bit, and you'd have Alcaraz that could pick the ball up and travel with it. And he's a bit of a midfielder who would like to come and get the ball sort of deep in your own half and pick it up and drive with it and go beat people and go past players. He's got a real eye for goal as well. I like the fact that he was a real, sort of like, he had a good energy about him. Certainly when he come in, a really good energy. He probably didn't have the right managers because you had Nathan Jones when he signed, who probably goes down as one of the worst Southampton managers of all time. And then the second Southampton worst manager of all time was Ruben Selles. Had a pretty terrible time. And he didn't really know how to manage top players and big players. Struggled with the system. And we were all about trying to defend and sort of like, we were always looking at the opposition and not looking at how we were going to hurt the opposition. So I don't think it really necessarily helped Alcaraz at that time, if I'm totally honest. Then we get relegated, we go down, and there's no doubt he was looking for a Premier League move. He wanted the Premier League move, and Russell Martin wanted English talent. He didn't really fancy foreign talent so much, but he didn't so he stayed with us. We went down. I think he made a noise that he probably wanted to go. I think he did. Yeah, I don't know if it actually came out in the press, but there was a lot of speculation, and there was a lot of talk around him for a period of time. And I thought, Alcaraz is gonna go here, and I would have been really disappointed to see him go, because he was one player I think we all wanted to keep. We all wanted to keep him. There's no doubt all Southampton fans didn't want him to go. So anyway, he stays the Championship season. He did actually sign a long-term contract. He signed an extension to his current deal, which was a strange one. When he was sold for 21 million. When he left and he went to Flamengo, it was around 21 million. But I was surprised to see him sold. But he played that first half that season for Russell Martin, so going back to the second season at Southampton, because he only had the second half of the season before. He has the first whole season with us, and Russell Martin just didn't fancy him. The manager had a way of playing football that was tippy tap. Flair players like Alcaraz that are going to travel with the ball, he didn't really like. He didn't want players to pick up the ball and that were going to potentially give it away, because he can give the ball away because he's a player that will travel with the ball. So he didn't fancy him. Bit part player, in and out of the side, but when he got opportunities, he scored some good goals. One of those being against Plymouth was an absolutely outstanding goal that he scored there that day. And he showed glimpses of absolute brilliance, but he didn't look the same Charly to me. And it was no surprise when Juventus, it was a surprise that he went to Juventus. It wasn't a surprise that he left, but it was a big move to go to Juventus. He went there on loan. It was always, they're a big club. I don't think he got loads of game time. And then I had the pleasure of meeting him so he comes back. Had the pleasure of meeting him in the summer, last summer, at the Puma event, and I had a chat with him personally. And his English is broken, but he didn't want to go back to Italy. He said it was too slow for him. He said the football's too slow. He liked the pace of the Premier League, and he wanted to stay at Southampton. He told me, he said, I want to stay at Southampton. I want to play in the Premier League, and I expect, we don't know the ins and outs of it, but the bid come in for like 24 odd million whenever he went to Flamengo. And he probably, deep down, I would imagine, wanted to stay in the Prem. But he didn't. So when he's come back to Everton, he's signed for Everton, I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised he's back in the Prem. But you're getting a player that will give 110%. I'm gutted he went, and I still think he would fit in our system now. I hope it works out for him. I really do. I think he gets the opportunity to work with a manager. I said this on a channel before he signed, that I think you get a player that's got loads of energy, he give 110%, and he gets to work under a manager that would expect that as well. But with this manager, he's dealt with difficult players before. I'm not saying that Alcaraz is difficult, but he doesn't speak the English. He doesn't speak English, so look, he went for a period of time and he looked a little bit sulky at our place. And he, probably rightly so, because he's one of our better players. He was sat on the bench for week after week, and all the fans were calling for him. We all wanted him to play. I remember him being really good against Leeds United after Russell Martin had that run of games. We lost four in a row, and one of those was an absolute hiding against Leicester. There was the hiding at Sunderland as well, Ipswich, and Borough, and Alcaraz had his best game after that. I remember him being really, really good. But yeah, the debut was 2023, and he obviously left our football club at the start of this season, the 24-25 season. So he wasn't with us for a long period of time, but you get a manager that's worked with players from all over the world, and I think he's going to be working under a really good manager, one of the best managers that he's probably ever worked under, I would think. He wouldn't have worked under a manager like that at Southampton, that's for sure. But there's an obligation, an option to buy him, not an obligation to buy him for Everton. So he's on loan to see what he does, and he will have to hit certain criteria. Will he play a certain amount of games? So they got an option to have a real look at him. But I think he'd take the opportunity. It's a big football club, a really big football club. Big expectation from the fans. You have to give 110% if you're a Toffee. I know that from watching Everton throughout my life. You can't be half-arsed. You can't be half in. You have to give it 110%, but he will do, because he knows this is a massive, massive opportunity for him as a football club. But I think he's a great signing for Everton. I think you'll see him stay. I don't think he'll be the sort of player that come in and you'll see him go off. I think he will become an Everton player for the long term, and I really hope it works out for him. I'll be watching him as a football fan, looking in. I'm a Southampton fan, week in, week out, but I look at players that played at our football club, and I look at other players, and I enjoy watching players, and I will be watching Everton with a very close eye now, just because he's there, and then no doubt the Saints fans are. There's a few fans a bit jealous in a way, in a weird kind of way. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. You've got a great player on your hands. Look after him, and let me know in the comments box below how he gets on.